We'll work in reverse order. We'll start with Bill Belichick last night in his debut at North Carolina. It did not go well. In fact, it was embarrassing. Here is just a portion of a column that was written by the Charlotte News and Observer sports columnist Luke DeCock. He starts out to say, forget the cutoff sleeves. The alleged football genius got pantsed in his college debut. North Carolina paid $10 million for Bill Belichick and got sold a bill of goods. The students gave up before the third quarter was over, right after the defense. It's certainly possible that this could have been worse for Belichick and the Tar Heels, but that's an argument over a matter of degrees. Belichick and his brain trust promised the 33rd NFL team, and yes, this was certainly at the same level of what the Cleveland Browns annually perpetrate on their fans. Ouch. That's a local reaction. Bill got humbled. And if you're looking for a great way to start a college career, North Carolina had that first drive. Oh, man, touchdown, cutaway, Michael Jordan, all the luminaries, dignitaries. Oh, we got a beautiful night here for Carolina football. And they forgot that TCU also was going to play as well. And TCU was favored in that game. And I'm watching the pregame, and I understand. You want to feature Belichick. He's not interesting. He doesn't say anything interesting. The look of him is kind of interesting on the sidelines, but Reese Davis sat down and did an interview with him, and Holly Rowe did an interview with him. He's meant to be looked at and watch the results, not listened to, because there's very little that he's going to tell you. So you're watching. This is different than Deion. And Deion opened up with TCU as well. Deion is charismatic. He's interesting, flamboyant. But you're watching Bill, and they brought in 70 new players. Incredible. Incredible to have 70 new players and then try to get them all to be ready to go week one against a quality opponent. Yes, you're at home. But after a while, after the first 5 minutes, then all that wears off. Now you got to play football. And they looked woefully unprepared. And TCU played really well. But you just don't expect that from Bill Belichick. You don't expect him to be out-coached, as he said. Here is Belichick after North Carolina was blown out.
Anytime you give up 2 turnovers or touchdowns offensively, that's not good. We gave up several long plays on defense, where they gained a lot of yards on one play. So just too many of those. There wasn't any one thing. It was a combination of multiple things. Too many 3-and-outs, too many long plays on defense, and then 2 turnovers. Well, we had 3 turnovers, with 2 turnovers, touchdowns. You can't overcome that.
TCU had 542 total yards on offense. Second time in 468 NFL and college games, Bill Belichick, a Belichick coach team, has given up that many yards. Stat of the day brought to you by Panini America. A lot of games to go over, and you can look at this as parity because, okay, let's start week 0. Iowa State knocks off K-State. That's in Ireland. One is ranked 22, one is ranked 17. So that's not a big thing. Ohio State taking down Arch Manning in Texas. You had LSU over Clemson. These are mild upsets. Florida State stunning Alabama. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Miami beating Notre Dame was not a surprise. So these things are going to happen this year. I don't know if you're going to have a great team. Keep in mind, all the players Ohio State lost to the NFL. You lose your quarterback. You lose your running back. And they're at home, yes. And Texas came in with all the fanfare. Number 1, and you got Arch Manning. And it proved to be too much. Now, Texas could have won the game. I think people are reacting that, oh, man, Arch looked terrible, and they got blown out. They could have won this game. And it's not like Ohio State was great. I thought the defense was great. But, was it big for Arch Manning? Too big for Arch Manning? Yes, it certainly felt that way. But I got to I caution people every year, don't overreact. So he went from Heisman to he shouldn't even be on the list. Texas, they're not great. Ohio State's great. Boy, Alabama's terrible. Florida State is back. Notre Dame, we don't overreact. It's fun to, but you have to caution yourself with this because Arch will come back and probably have a really good game against an inferior opponent, and then we'll go, okay. Belichick, next game, I think, is at Charlotte, and he'll probably win that. And we'll go, all right, well, it kind of, all right, it's not going to be that bad. The Alabama result is the one that stands out over all of them because, and give credit to Florida State. Florida State was the better team, and their defensive line was wonderful. Well, offensive line as well. But I go back to Kalen DeBoer, who felt like he was the hottest coach in America at Washington, and you can't turn down Alabama. Nick Saban didn't have to replace Nick Saban. Kalen DeBoer has to replace Nick Saban. And Nick Saban is omnipresent on the mothership. So it's not like he's gone. You don't see him anymore. He's right there. And Kalen DeBoer and Alabama, they got roughed up in more ways than one. And then you start to think about, bigger picture here. I think Belichick is probably done after 1 year anyway, maybe 2 years. But, that might be that, he still wants to go back to the NFL, which I think going to college and what's happened in college, I'm less likely to see him. And in fact, when he left the Patriots or they fired him, I said he won't coach in the NFL again. There's just too much there. But you got the Alabama situation, and immediately you start having people go, what's the buyout for Kalen DeBoer? That didn't take long, and that's where we overreact. Let's just wait and see how good this team is. But what we saw over the weekend, Florida State roughing them up. In 17 years at Alabama, Nick Saban lost 4 games to unranked opponents. That's the same number of losses to unranked opponents Kalen DeBoer has in his first 2 seasons at Alabama.
Woo! Ow! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! This is the stat of the day!
So against unranked opponents, Saban was 124-4. DeBoer is 6-4. And all of a sudden, you can look around and go, what's that buyout for Kalen DeBoer? And I sometimes we look at players and I go, give me a larger sample size here. And I liken Zach Wilson going number 2 overall to Kalen DeBoer going to Alabama. Like, wow, okay. And I don't want to overreact, but I didn't see promising results in year 1, and now you open up with Florida State. Now, it's at Florida State. They obviously were terrible last year, chip on their shoulder. We're a proud, proud team, and Alabama went in there, and Florida State did not care. They didn't care who you are, what you are. And that's what's surprising. When Saban left, Alabama was still good. Now, he resigned abruptly. I think he was just done with all the transfer portal and NIL and all of that. It's terrible. It's ruining college football. Kalen DeBoer comes in after a successful year at Washington. Doesn't mean you're the right guy for that job. Doesn't mean he can't be a really good coach. But you can't pass up Alabama. I understand that. But that's the one that surprised me. And it wasn't a fluke. I mean, when Florida State went up big, I'm thinking, yeah, they're a far better team. And they certainly showed that. But Ohio State winning, I wasn't surprised in that atmosphere. I mean, Ohio State offensively didn't do much, but they did just enough, and that defense was wonderful. Miami as well against Notre Dame, I was not surprised at that. Here's a stat for you. The last time Texas, Notre Dame, and Alabama all lost in the same week, 2017, Thanksgiving weekend. Texas lost to Texas Tech. Notre Dame lost to Stanford. Alabama lost to Auburn. And, there's no gimmies in the SEC. It's not like Alabama can go, well, we have some easy games. When you get into the SEC, they're not easy games. Belichick in North Carolina, you're still in the ACC. All right, you got a couple of games you got to worry about, but you can still maybe carve out 8 wins here. I think the over-under is 8.5, something like that, which is what we thought they were probably going to be doing. But Belichick is always great at the next time around, making adjustments. Now, if this was an NFL game, I would have thought, okay, Belichick's going to really adjust in the second half. Or the third quarter, maybe the fourth quarter, he's going to adjust. It's 70 new players. That's enormous. And I think that's the Herculean task, is to get 70 players in a short period of time to understand exactly what we're trying to do here. And they looked inept. They look unprepared. They were overmatched. And I did feel bad for LSU because I'm watching the game, pregame, and I'm going, guys, acknowledge TCU. Acknowledge TCU. Do something. And Reese Davis sat down with Bill Belichick. Okay. And let's go to Holly Rowe with Bill Belichick. Do something on TCU. They're favored in this game. Hey, Michael Jordan's here. Do something. Lawrence Taylor's here. Mia Hamm's here. Do something on TCU. Yes.
There was this one shot where it was like Michael Jordan, Lawrence Taylor, and I forget who else was all sitting together.
Roy Williams.
And Roy Williams,
Yeah.
that's right, yeah. Roy Williams, and then they cut away to Randy Moss going crazy. So it was like everybody was there.
Yep. And I thought,
It was awesome.
Just be fair with your coverage, just to protect yourself. Everybody's picking North Carolina to win the game. Meanwhile, TCU was favored, I think, by 3.5. In that first drive, and I thought, wow, that's impressive. Then a 3-and-out by TCU, and I go, wow. And then all of a sudden I went, wow, North Carolina's bad. Yeah, Paul.
But do you think it's way too much of an overreaction for a blowout? Like that column you read a couple minutes ago, they basically declared, the writer said, this is over. This experiment is a failure. Bill Belichick's first year in New England, he was 5-11. Then he won 3 of the next 4 Super Bowls. It seems like people should have a little more faith in his expertise more than an August football game.
I would, except for recruiting is about personality. And Bill doesn't have a personality. Bill is, give me the groceries and I'll make a meal better than anybody. That's what he does. Recruiting's about, you got to go talk to Jimmy Lipper and, Jimmy Scungil and Tommy Calamari, and you got to talk to all their parents and Glad Hand and boosters, and that's not what he's built for. And you bring in 70 new players, and I don't know if he's one of those guys that brings them together, like Dion brings them together. Bill's like, all right, well, we played TCU. Let's go get him. This is different. And by the way, he did have Tom Brady. I mean, that helped, and a really good defense when he got there. People don't care what your resume is. Like, none of these guys. Sonny Dykes at TCU is like, all right, that's Belichick. He's not playing. Everybody, that's what they kept saying. Hey, Belichick ain't playing. So don't worry about it. All right, let's see what he can do. And you saw that. But I thought TCU did a wonderful job kind of staying in the moment and not letting it become too big. Todd, you had the wrong credit.
Yeah, because there's a Charlotte Observer. Luke DeCock works for the Raleigh News and Observer. I just wanted to make sure we had that right. That was something I had wrong. I thought it was Charlotte, but it's the Raleigh paper.
So we started out with an error.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we just rectified it.
A turnover.
That's actually Duke Lecoq writes for the Charlotte Observer. This is Luke DeCock.
But unlike North Carolina, we will recover from this.
We certainly
mistake.
will.
Thank you.
We already have.
All right. So, best and worst of the weekend, what you saw that you liked, you didn't like. We'll hear from Arch Manning coming up about his performance. Don't overreact.
Too late.
I know. I'm watching and I go, oh my gosh, this guy's going to get roughed up. Yes, Paul.
I saw some graphic on the screen, and in no context said Arch Manning 0-1 in his career. Peyton Manning won his first career start, and Eli Manning won his first career start. Peyton Manning was at home against East Carolina, and Eli Manning was at home against Murray State. They weren't at the Shoe in August.
Yeah. Against the defending national champs. Yeah.
It's uphill.
But, he can't win the Heisman now. Okay, he lost on the road to the defending national champs. He can still win the Heisman. I said he wouldn't win the Heisman. Somebody in this room said he would cruise to the Heisman, but it's early. Let's just see. Let's just see how this all plays out instead of here's my reaction, here's my hot take, and now I move on from that. Texas is still a great team. I thought both coaches didn't do well in trying to take some chances. I thought Texas was going to take more chances with Arch. Now, Julian Sayin, the Ohio State quarterback, I understand that. Let's just ease him in. Hopefully our defense can win this game, keep us in this, make a couple of plays. I still thought we would have a little bit more firepower. That was a big surprise on both sides there.